Hello everybody, and thank you for coming back to yet another episode of The Gloving Paradigm. I am your host, Peter, aka LPD8 Dubuque, and this week we're going to get back into the swing of things of all the educational content that I try to do for gloving. That way we can get back into the normal scheduled program that we always try to do here. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. For this week, I asked the question, which no one answered anything for some reason. I'm assuming everyone was really busy that they couldn't answer, but I'm just going to go with that anyways. And that is goal setting. Setting goals and gloving, things of that nature. You know, I know a lot of people might say that setting goals and gloving is really bad and that it doesn't really help you any, which I tend to disagree because goal setting works everywhere else, so why can't it work in gloving? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of crazy when some people say that you shouldn't be setting goals in gloving because whatever reasons that they come up with. You know, I just always found that I just found that ridiculous that some people would say that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, oh, why? Why are you saying that? But let's go ahead and get right into it. And with the biggest part that I want to cover is why is it so important for us to be setting goals and gloving? Well, it's very, very simple. You know, if you're a brand new person who's just started gloving, you have nowhere to start. You know, you have this rabbit hole of information that we all have now in terms of gloving that you have to figure out. And that can be really daunting for a lot of new people that try to come into this lovely little entity that is gloving. So, biggest reason to actually set goals in gloving is that it gives you a metaphorical destination to achieve. You know, you're at a starting point now. Say, let's just go under the assumption that you literally just started today. Okay? Setting a goal will help you actually show you a distant destination that you're trying to get to. Okay? Metaphorically speaking, of course, but you understand what I mean. It shows you where you are and where you came from. Is another good reason why we need to be setting goals. And it's one of those things that, to me, it's just kind of these little plot points in your journey that you need to not necessarily check off, but you want to get to those points. All right. And of course, it just keeps your drive going. It just keeps it going because, you know, once you hit a goal, then you're just like, all right, what's the next one? And then you set up that next one and you go for that one. And once you get to that one, you got another one you want to get to. Keep going and going and going and going. There you are. You're setting your goals, you're achieving the goals, and you're moving forward to that metaphorical destination I was referring to. Okay? So, with that being said, there are two types of goals that I want to address. Mostly just because some of these goals that people have can be a little ambiguous in terms of where you're setting it. You know what I mean? So the two types of goals I want to talk about are tangible goals and intangible goals. Firstly, I want to cover the intangible just because it's actually relatively easy to cover that. So the reason why I want to talk about intangible goals is I find them to be rather bad depending on how you set that goal. So here's a good example that I would like to say as an intangible goal. I want to be the best glover to ever exist. That's intangible. Main reason why it's intangible is because how are you going to quantify that? You know what I mean? Like, how can you sit here and quantify what could be literally the best when we're talking about an entity that is subjective in its nature in terms of expression and artistic performance and whatever the case may be that you want to insert in this spot right here? That's, to me, is intangible. You know, we don't have, well, at least in my opinion, we don't have a quintessential best glover ever. You know what I mean? You can be one of the best glovers to ever exist, but I don't see this echelon of this title of best glover ever. You know, quintessential best glover. Like, that's it. To me, that's intangible because, you know, again, it comes all down to that subjectivity and how people judge art and blah, 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 blah. You know, insert whatever argument you want here type deal. All right. So to me, that's intangible and therefore bad. One of the reasons why I say, like, being the best glover ever is an intangible goal is because there's no defined quantities to that. Okay. You know, you can sit there and say, you know, well, there's already arguments out there of who's considered the best glover out there. You know, people talk saying Vexes or Ice Cream Teddy or Puppet or Mez or whoever. You know, there's always going to be that argument, and I'm just not going to feed into that right now because that's not the point. But I'm just saying, like, when it comes to goals like that, you have to kind of take a step back and think about how the community has been pretty much tackling that topic. So one major thing I want to say when it comes to intangible goals of, undefined quantities, like being the best there ever is, or, being the one that starts this entire movement within it. It's just, I find that to be very intangible, and therefore they're kind of like traps due to their quantity or quality. They're rather undefined. So you can't just immediately just drop that right there and just say, yep, this is my end goal and that's the only goal I need. Now if you want to strive to be the best, that's totally fine. That's understandable. That's a striving goal, as I like to call it. A striving goal is just something that, you're never anticipating to ever achieve, but it's something that you want. And that's totally fine, because what does that do? That provides motivation, and motivation allows you to hit your goals. All right. Which, of course, the last part is keep the drive going. So if you have a striving goal that's an intangible one, that's what you want. But ultimately, intangible goals tend to cause a false sight, to a destination that you want to be in. And I'm not saying that all intangible goals are extremely bad and you shouldn't use them. To me, the way I'm trying to convey it to you guys is that, when it comes to certain goals, intangible ones can be traps. And so you gotta really analyze what type of goals you want to set for yourself. Okay, now let's move to tangible goals. This is the part I like, because this is a lot more fun for me. So tangible goals are actually better for you than intangible ones. Why? Well, tangible goals are defined quantities and qualities in terms of gloving goals. You know what I mean? So say, again, using the example that you just came fresh off the boat and doing your first day into gloving, what kind of goals should you be setting? Well, the way I look at it, when it comes to tangible goals, you can have overarching ones like, becoming really good at flow, or becoming really good at tech, or having really strong showmanship, or having master musicality. Those are tangible, quantified goals. Okay, now I know some people might say, well, there might be some subjectivity into that. Yes, I understand that, but that's not the point. With tangible goals, such as using the example like mastering musicality, okay, that's a tangible goal. That's a big overarching goal. And they do act as stepping stones as well. So, if you master musicality, you could easily master your showmanship, or you can master tech within your musicality, or flow within your musicality, whatever the case may be. Certain goals do lend into other goals that kind of build up these stepping stones to a big goal. All right, so if you have a big goal, setting smaller goals will actually help you get to that big goal. That's just, a natural progression that most people do. And of course, to me, ultimately, when it comes to tangible goals, it gives you structure in the craft and your journey. Okay, not only does it give you structure in your craft to become better at it and master all the techniques that you need and all the skills that you need to be a good glover, but it also helps structure your journey. Okay, you're embarking on a very long journey. Is it a lifetime journey? It doesn't have to be, but it can be. It's something I would like to have. I like to have gloving as a lifetime journey. That's just one of my things. That's just how I am, But it does give you structure. It does give you an outline of how you want to tackle this newfound passion you have. Okay, just like any other passion, whether it be, weightlifting, martial arts, ballet, drawing, painting, scrapbooking, if scrapbooking's your thing, it doesn't really matter. But, that's something you need to take into account. If other things like what I just mentioned has goals and structures that help people get through their journey, gloving should have the same. It should work the same, in my opinion. I'm not saying that it's always going to work, but like I said in so many other episodes, you got to go with the trial and error. You got to find out what works and what doesn't work. Do not be like some people I know who tend to just immediately dismiss it and just say it's not going to work, and not even give it the time and day to actually quantify how it's not going to work, and just put it all into the theory world. And that's just, no, don't do that. I'm a person who likes trial and error. I'm the person who likes to work through trial and error to find what works for me. And I know a lot of people don't want to do that, But for most people who really get really far in their careers in terms of gloving or whatever the case may be, that's how it works. And it's worked, and it's something that they all do. I do it all the time. I've had many friends who do it all the time. We're the type of people that don't sit here and immediately go, oh, well, on paper it's just not going to work. Until you throw it into practical application, you cannot assume that something's not going to work unless it's blatantly obvious, like putting fire with gasoline. Yeah, no, that's not going to work. That even on paper, that's not going to work. So please do not set yourself on fire. Okay, I know I'm kind of getting off topic here, but just kind of bear with me here. Woo, man. All right. So, how to set goals is pretty much where I'm going to segue into next. All right, so big goals. When it comes to big goals, you want to set these goals as an overarching point in your career. Okay, there's big things like mastering flow or liquid. You can break it down even from liquid, even just finger rolls or whatever the case may be. But a big overarching goal is just like being really good at liquid. Okay, that's a big overarching goal. Well, how do you master liquid? Well, you gotta learn how to do finger rolls really well. You gotta learn how to interchange your finger rolls in various ways, between just being underhand to overhand to cross-handed to whipping around into the zigzag pattern type stuff, whatever the case may be. You gotta take that concept and you gotta learn every aspect of it. And so how you break that down is just within the certain movesets. Whips, flails could be part of liquid. I don't really necessarily count it as that. I count it as more of a dynamic concept, but that's just me. You got whips, you got finger rolls, just general liquid type stuff, and understanding like the philosophy behind the concept, the idea behind the concept, and its motivation behind the concept, or motive, whatever case you want to use. I don't really care. But the one major thing when it comes to big goals is that you want smaller goals to quantify it. And what I mean by that is, like I was just saying, to master liquid, you gotta master all these other ones first before you can be considered master of liquid. That's how you have the stepping stone thing to get something small to grow into something big. Mastering finger rolls can grow into mastering liquid altogether. Like that's the idea I'm trying to convey. I'm hoping that you guys can follow along with me on this. I know I tend to get very convoluted in my ideas and things like that, but that's the idea I'm trying to convey, is that these smaller goals can literally bubble into achieving a bigger goal. All right, and that's the idea that I want my listeners to take away from this. So one major thing I will say about big goals is that you don't need to apply a deadline. You don't need to be like, in 1 month, I have to learn how to master, all the concepts of gloving. Like, no. To me, a big, giant goal should be just something that you just work towards that you're not pressuring yourself to make. Okay, because big goals are big. You got a lot of things to work towards to achieve said big goal. So assessing a deadline to a giant big goal like that will not help you. It might motivate you, which is totally fine. If that's how you get yourself motivated, is by slapping a deadline on it, then fine, that's totally fine. If you're going to slap a deadline on it, I would say, within a quarter of a year to half a year or to even a full year to achieve this part. I will even certainly say to some people who really want to get tech down really quickly but are having difficulty getting it, I will certainly tell you it took me to my second to third year of my gloving career to understand and learn tutting and tech altogether. It's just one of those things that sometimes does happen. So if you have that kind of goal and you're just not having much success getting there, don't give up. It's just one of those things that sometimes it just takes a good amount of time for you to get. One of these things I've learned in my life very recently is that sometimes for us to understand, we just kind of have to grow in age. For some reason, certain concepts and ideas and philosophies, whatever the case may be, that you can just insert here, doesn't make sense until you hit a certain age. And that's just how it is. I don't know how else to explain it, but, through wisdom, philosophy, theology, whatever the case may be that you want to put in here, I don't really care. It just, regardless though, sometimes you just have to hit a certain point in your life for it to make sense. I don't know why it is that way, but life has a way of being like that. So moving on from that, we're going to get down to the smaller goals. So with smaller goals, you want to set these to help work towards those larger goals. Like I said, mastering liquid, master finger rolls first and watch it build up from there. And you're going to hit that big goal relatively quickly if you just keep working on your smaller goals. Yes, keep a good eye on your big goals, but do not let that blind your vision of what you need to be doing in the here and now. That's looking towards the horizon of a big goal while you should be focusing on your small goals, which is right here and now. You know what I mean? Like that's the idea. Stop looking to the horizon of your big goals all the time and focus on what's on the here and now. All right? In my opinion, the simpler the small goal is, the better it's going to be, because small, tiny goals that help you just step up and up and up and up to that bigger goal makes it a lot easier for you. And one major thing I will say, you should have a deadline on these. You don't have to, but I do encourage having a deadline on that because it does motivate people to push themselves to get to that point within a time frame. And if you're able to achieve that, now you go, okay, I was able to achieve this small goal. Now, besides just celebrating your achievement, you can sit there and be like, okay, if I was able to achieve that in that time frame, can I achieve this in my time frame, in the same time frame? And what that's going to do is you're also setting like this secondary goal is how well you can maintain hitting these goals. Now, I will certainly say if you achieve a goal within a time frame and you go for that second one and you don't achieve it in that time frame, do not fret. Okay, it is showing you where, not necessarily where your limitations are, but it is showing where your progress is. And if something just takes a little bit longer for you to do that, that's totally fine. I will say certainly make a note of that and then move on to your next goal once you achieve it. Okay, it's one of those things that I feel like a lot of newcomers don't understand, is that there's just sometimes where things just don't click for you. And, you gotta let that kind of marinate in your mind and allow your mind to kind of dissect it on its own, because eventually, just like with me and tutting, eventually it will just click in your head and you just be like, oh my god, it was so simple. How did it take me so long to understand it? It's just how it is. Sometimes your brain just can't see the lines that it needs to see, and then eventually it will see it. It's kind of like the idea, like watching a movie that you've seen many times. I mean, like a bajillion times that you've seen this movie. And each time you find something within the movie that you've never noticed before. It's the same kind of idea that I have when it comes to certain goals that you just have some difficulty achieving. Sometimes it just will eventually pop out at you. Your brain eventually sees it. Sometimes it just kind of takes it and pushes it out thinking it's useless information. But eventually your mind takes all the information it's already gathered and pushed it out, be like, I already know all this stuff, allowing you to see the stuff you weren't noticing before. Okay, that's just an idea that I wanted to convey. Okay, so what are my final words on goal setting and gloving? Well, setting big goals with small goals leading up to it is going to be a great form of structure for you. Okay, it allows you to not only see how the stepping stones to get bigger goals will show you how you need to work on your craft, but you're going to be seeing your progression through these smaller goals to get to these big goals, and understanding how smaller goals achieve bigger goals. Okay. One other thing I definitely want to say is please avoid intangible goals like being the best ever at whatever it is. Like I understand that you want to be the best, but to say that there is a quantity that can cement you as the quintessential best person ever in this category, just no. That's to me is intangible, because things change. The paradigm of gloving will change over time, like it has been through the past 10 years or past 12 years that gloving has been around. You just gotta understand that when it comes to intangible goals, they're just going to be nothing but traps to you. You want to have quantified goals. You want those goals to be quantified and be able to be measured. So avoid subjective goals is basically what I'm trying to say. And when it comes to achieving the goals that you set, enjoy it. Enjoy that achievement. Celebrate in that achievement, because you just went from where you started to where you are now, and now you get to see that your progress has paid off. Your dedication has paid off. So when you hit those achievements, enjoy for a while. Take a small little break just to enjoy that you worked towards something and got there. You know what I mean? Just enjoy the places that you get to once you get there. Okay? Because I feel like once people hit a goal, they immediately are like, okay, now I have to hit the next goal. No. Take a breather. Enjoy where you are. Stop and smell the roses. Whatever analogy you want to insert here. Enjoy the points of achievement that you make. Okay? Because that allows you to feel that metaphorical high of, I achieved something. I worked hard on something and I am being rewarded with it. So enjoy those moments and cherish those moments, because that's what makes gloving what it is. To me, that is the essence of gloving, is when you work hard on something and you achieve it and you feel that high of achieving something you are dedicated to. Gloving is that. Now, granted, I also say gloving has a bunch of other things, but gloving, to me, it's gloving in its own entity. Okay. And one thing I definitely want to reiterate is never abandon goals that are difficult. Okay, like I told you, it took me to about my 3rd year into my gloving career to get tutting down. Like, I know it sounds crazy to some people considering how tech influenced gloving is now, with all the new people really focusing on tech, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm not saying that at all. That's good for you. If you want to tackle tech first, go ahead, but the idea that some people just have difficulty with tech, such as myself, I never abandoned it. I just took a moment to step away from it, because sometimes you might want to just take a step away from it and then come back to it and see it with a fresh pair of eyes. That tends to be sometimes the case for a lot of people. Okay, even myself, there's some times where I just especially if I'm writing stories or I'm helping friends with art or whatever the case may be, sometimes I just need to take a step away, go close my eyes, go sit out in the sun and listen to, some relaxing music, lo-fi hip hop or something, whatever the case may be, kind of reset everything and bring, kind of just let myself reevaluate with fresh pair of eyes and a fresh mind to tackle these goals or, whatever challenges that I'm facing. Okay, so if you have a goal, even if it's a big or a small one, that's just giving you a lot of trouble, do not abandon it. You might want to put it on the back burner to work on something else to try to give yourself a fresh pair of eyes later on, or, reach out. I'm a person who wants to help people learn more, so if you are having difficulties with a concept that I probably know, then I'll help you out. The community is, much as some people like to disagree, a lot of members of the community do want to help people get better. To me, it's the idea that, great ideas can come from anywhere, and we need to nurture everything that will provide the ideas. Okay, so for all the newcomers out there who are listening to this, I want to help you, and if you want help, do not hesitate to ask me. I will, set some time aside, and I will try to help you the best I can. If I'm unable to help you, I will try to find somebody who can help you. I will certainly say that I'm not the best person at tutorials and all that stuff, but I do try my best. So that's pretty much all for my episode. I know this one's kind of running a little bit long. Hopefully it's not as long as the last one, but you never know. I do like to thank everybody who has been listening to this show so far. Is highly appreciative that you guys do keep coming back and keep listening to what I have to say. It's most humbling to me. But if you guys have any questions that I did not cover in this episode, I do have the various outlets you can hit me up at. Of course, I do have the Facebook page, which is aptly named The Gloving Paradigm. You can always hit me up there. I'm always very responsive. Of course, I do have an email account, which is muttonchopguy@gmail.com. You can always send me there if you want to keep it a little bit more private. And of course, I am on Reddit under the username muttonchopguy, so if you want to hit me up there as well, that's totally fine. I've had many people hit me up there privately, so you don't have to use any of the other ones. You can do Reddit if you like Reddit as well. And of course, I do have a Discord server, which will be linked in this episode's description. Please do not hesitate to click on that and join in on that group, because I actually enjoy talking to those people sometimes, because they do ask me questions and I try to help. So I do hope you guys enjoy this episode. I really worked a little hard on this. I had to do a good amount of research to figure out how I want to tackle this, and the best way was through outside sources of the gloving community and various channels on YouTube and things like that, because I try to bring a lot of outside inspiration to help me with my gloving, just because of how gloving can be. So that is all for my episode. I would like to thank everybody who has liked the page so far. I'm still getting more likes, so I'm very, very happy to see that my community is growing, and I hope that we can keep it going. But that is pretty much it for me. Thank you to everybody listening. You guys, it wouldn't be possible without you guys listening in. So thank you so much. I absolutely love you guys. I am your host, Peter, aka LPD8 Dubuque, and I'll see you guys all next week.